Hi everyone, Jennifer Galindo here with Mission CISD, and thank you for joining us for another episode of House Calls. Today I am joined with Dr. Stinson with the Center of Primary Care and Wellness, and today we're going to be talking about flu season. So fall is here, and that means that the flu season is upon us. So Dr. Stinson, it sounds like we're going to have an early start to the flu season this year. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yes, actually, yes, a very early season. I've never seen this, and in my 30 plus years of being a doc, and we knew we were going to have it. Well, we had suspicion there was going to be the early flu season because in the southern hemisphere they had about a 3 month head start on their flu season, and they get their season during the summer, and they got it a little bit earlier, like about 3 months, and that's what happened here too. Ours started back in September, just a few weeks ago. It peaked a little bit, so it seemed to have peaked already. Usually, flu season will peak for about 2 to 4 weeks. It has a little bit of some months beginning and some months ending, but the peak is like that. And it looks like we peaked already in September, which is very unusual. The good news is that the early season that we had back in the southern hemisphere, was a mild flu season, and that's what it appears right now. We're not overloading the hospitals with people in severe respiratory problems. So it seems to be a milder version, and that happens. So that's the good news. The bad news is a lot of people are getting sick, missing work, missing school. We're seeing a lot of the kids and the teachers there at the clinic with this. But so far, no, really, I haven't had any really serious respiratory problems yet.
That's good to hear. Hopefully, with it coming a little sooner, that gave us a little bit more time to prep for it, coming into our area. And so, for those who are not sure, like myself, what would you say some of the symptoms are for the flu, and then what would make it different from, for example, the common cold and maybe even COVID-19?
Okay, good question. There's always been that discussion of what's a flu, what's a cold, and now we add what's the difference with the COVID. What was it? The truth is they all are about the same. They all can be like each other. You can have no symptoms from all three of them. You could have a sore throat from all three of them. You could have pink eye from all three of them, stuff like that. Though there are trends. So the common cold tends to be more of you get a lot of congestion, some sore throat, some ear congestion, cough. Of course, you get a little bit of fever and chills and a little bit of that you feel sick, and that's typical cold. And cold tend to be a lot milder, just a nuisance. They can drag on for 5 to 10 days. Sometimes they'll last in a couple days, and that's the typical the cold, which is there are hundreds of viruses that can give us that syndrome, the common cold. So it's just a virus that gets in us and gives us this infection of our upper airways. Rarely does it get into our lungs. It can, and these viruses can go anywhere in our body, but they rarely do. It usually stays from your throat up. The flu will give you the same symptoms, exactly the same. It does. You can hardly tell the difference. In fact, you can hardly tell the difference from a common cold, COVID, flu, and an allergic reaction, or just having your seasonal allergies. They can all feel the same. But what's more characteristic of the flu and why we care so much about it, why we vaccinate it, because this virus likes to get into our airways, into our bronchioles, into our lungs, and that creates what we call pneumonia, and those can be dangerous. In fact, those do kill people, especially the people that have a lot of health conditions, people whose immune system is weak. So that means us older people, usually, so anybody 65 and older or diabetes is at risk. The same risks that we saw with COVID. And so that's the main difference. You see a little bit of more maybe gastrointestinal vomiting, nausea with the flu. Sometimes it will get that character. But the main problem why we like to distinguish flu and cold is the risk of pneumonia, and it can be a deadly infection. And like we just all went through COVID, I think people know so much about COVID now, and so COVID right now, its version is melded into more of the common cold. So it's hard to tell right now COVID from the common cold. So I think, and that's what the nature of COVID was. Is it was a type of, it was in the family of viruses that causes the majority of our common colds historically. So that's what it's turned out to be.
Oh, that's great. That's some good information
Oh
to
yeah.
know. So I want to hopefully debunk the stereotype now that you're here. I know there's some kind of stigma with the flu vaccine getting you sick and then getting, really intense symptoms. Can you share a little bit about that? Is it normal to have some sort of type of, reaction to the flu vaccine?
Yes, I used to be very sure of this, but after we went through this massive vaccination with COVID and we saw some things and we learned some things, because it was really interesting. We were able to vaccinate so many people and test them and watch this. We've never done that before. We never done it with the flu or the cold. But so, anyways, historically, uh, flu vaccine really doesn't get you the congestion, the cold. It doesn't do that. It'll give you maybe some achiness, some fever, perhaps within the first day or so. What a lot of my patients who tell me I don't want to get the flu shot because I got the flu shot and that year I got the worst flu or I got the worst something, I got sick from it, and we that usually it's just you got a cold because we give the flu shot during the cold season, and that's when everybody's getting back to school and all this stuff. So I think most of it was just a coincidence that they got sick and they got the flu. But mostly I give flus. I've been giving flu shots since 1994 at my office, and then nobody gets sick like that. But right, it is a little urban legend that if you get the flu shot, you can get sick, and no, you don't. You don't really.
So you heard it here, guys. Get your flu vaccines. You not get sick. And then one final question here. So let's say someone has the flu. They're deep into it. What should they do next? What are some of the things that they can do to recover from it?
Right. So there's basic steps that you want to do, flu or cold. First off, you want to make sure you get plenty of rest. Do not do any extra activities. If you had something to do after work, cancel it. If you can avoid going to work, and don't go to work, stay home if you can. Some people just can't. They're not sick enough to not work, so they feel okay. Um, so you want to get as much extra rest, listen, and get up late if you can. Don't get up early and stuff. Just listen to your body. That's number one. A lot of rest, and that's to help your immune system fight against the virus, because that's what's so important. All these steps are to help give your immune system all the energy it needs to fight this infection. Then you want to also make sure you're overhydrated. Hydrate yourself a lot. Drink fluids. Just keep drinking fluids all day long. Most people will not think of that, and they get a little bit dehydrated. And we get a lot of patients that end up in the hospital because they just didn't drink enough fluids. And all they needed was, we have to give them IV fluids. If they would have just hydrated themselves well. The fuel that you want is going to be something easy for us to digest. So that's why we suggest juices. Orange juice was traditionally, they used to say, well, it's a vitamin C. And it really was the easy carbohydrates you get from juice. It's easily digestible. And so that's what juices help, not just fluids, but some juice. And you could use Gatorade also for that. And food, you want to stay away from fatty foods because it's just so heavy. It's hard to digest. It really takes a lot of fuel to digest anything fatty. So you want to keep it lean. Easy proteins like chicken soup. That's why people tend to do better when they eat chicken soup. It's true. Research has shown that. And the idea is that it's because easy proteins. You need proteins to fight against these viruses, and you get a lot of good easy proteins doing that. But I assume you could probably get that from protein supplements. But we do like chicken soup or soups to help with that. You want to take some over-the-counter products that help with the symptoms, the sore throat and the headache. That's Tylenol and Advils or those kind of products over the counter. Use them. A lot of people will have a sore throat, and then what do I do with my sore? And they won't think about using Advil. You just use Advil; it'll help. Um, I like to have the sprays when you have a sore throat, the chloroseptic sprays. It kind of numbs it up, helps you sleep better. Those are very good. And as far as the nagging cough, where you're just coughing and coughing and coughing, a scratchy throat, the products that have DM on them, so the Mucinex or whatever, they have DM on the label. That has a chemical in there that helps suppress the cough. It's a good cough suppressant. So that's what you want to get to suppress that cough. So you do that. You take care of yourself. But if you're getting very sick. Let's say you start feeling hard. It's very hard to breathe, and you feel the cough is coming from here, and you hear rattling. Then you need to see somebody, a doctor, or go to clinic, and let them check you out first. So if that can happen at any time, it could happen in the day one, at any time. And so that's one reason why you want to get medical attention. The other reason, if it's not going away, it's you give it about a week. I always tell my patients, you're the doctor for the first week. You don't come to the clinic. Stay away from the clinics if you can during the first week, because it's just a virus, and doctors can't do nothing about it. But after a week, we do want to look and see that you're not getting another type of infection. Maybe you're getting a bacterial infection in the throat. Maybe the ears are getting infected, or maybe you have a bronchitis. So we do want to keep an eye on that. So it's a good idea, if it's going a little bit too long, get it checked out. You'd be surprised how many people will just don't get better. They finally come see me, and they have a pneumonia and have bronchitis. They're really sick, and they didn't really realize it. So give it about a week. If not better in a week, go see your doctor.
Well, Dr. Stinson, thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us today. It was really informative. So if you guys have any topics you'd like Dr. Stinson to chat about, feel free to comment them. And until next time, thank you.